ready.
Here we go.
It's after 5, and Grant's just getting warmed up.
You are going to love this.
Now, it's time for Grant's Rant.
So we get to New York the other day, and we all go out to dinner to meet a former co-worker of ours, and it was me and Jerry Reynolds, and we were with our director who does all the games for Comcast, and we had a blast. We had a great time. We went to Del Frisco's, which is one of my very favorite restaurants in New York. It's right on 49th and Avenue of the Americas. It's catty corner to Radio City Music Hall, and we really had a great time. The food there is phenomenal. The ambiance is awesome. So anyway, we're at a circular table, and there's 5 of us, okay? And to get to the restroom, you've got to walk up the stairs. And from where we were sitting, you could either go up the stairs to the left or the stairs to the right. So Jerry gets up and goes to the restroom. And about 10 minutes later, I go up and I go to the restroom. And I walk in. And the one thing that I still have never understood and I will never understand, and it absolutely drives me freaking crazy, is there is an attendant in the bathroom whose only responsibility is to pull the towels, the paper towels, out of the dispenser and hand them to you as you wash your hands. And, of course, there is a jar on the sink with dollar bills in it for a tip. Now, first of all, I don't understand why anybody, regardless of their need for income, would ever take that job. To stand in the men's room the entire evening, the whole evening, to watch people go to the bathroom and hand them towels. I don't get that. What I really don't get is why the restaurant, and there have been others where there's been an attendant, and they're dressed nice. Nice black vest, the white shirt, the black tie. I mean, after all, if you're going to be hanging out in the men's room for 8 hours every night, you want to look good. I mean, you don't want to go in there with a pair of shorts or a little bit of sweats, maybe your hat on backwards, maybe a sports shirt on. No, you want to go in there and you want to be styling when you go and you hang out in the men's room for 8 hours every night. Now, the other issue is I don't know why a restaurant feels that is like something that we want to see. I mean, let's just call it the way it is. Is there anybody listening right now that when they go to the bathroom, they want a guy in there staring at them? Do you want that when you go to the bathroom? So anyway, I come back down. Jerry's sitting next to me. I go, boy, I hate that. And he goes, no kidding. He goes, not only do it, I got to go up and pee, but it costs me money. I go, what do you mean it costs you money? He goes, I put $1 in the jar. So, of course, Jerry, 30 minutes later, he goes, man, I got to go to the bathroom again. I'm actually thinking about sitting here and wet my pants so I don't have to tip the guy. I start laughing. He goes up. We sat there for about 3 hours. And, Jerry, he goes to the bathroom like U.S. Air from LaGuardia Airport down to Washington on the shuttle. Every half hour on the quarter hour. So I'm thinking, Jerry's dinner was pretty expensive. I'm trying to figure out how much money it cost him to go to the bathroom throughout the night. If he's giving the guy $1 for every time he goes to the bathroom, every time I'm looking to my left, Jerry's not sitting there. He's running up to go to go pee. I'm like, Jerry, relax, sit down. Or don't give the guy $1. I hate that. That's what I want for the new year. No more bathroom attendants. We don't need somebody to hand us the paper towels. Of course, you go to some upscale restaurants and they got some candy in there. A couple of mints, pieces of gum. Now, I don't go to the bathroom to go get a piece of gum. Does anybody go to the bathroom to get a piece of gum? When you go to the bathroom, do you go, man, hey, honey, you're out at dinner. Hey, babe, listen, I'm going to go get a piece of gum. I'm going to the bathroom. Excuse me? Yeah, babe, I'm going up to the bathroom to get a mint and a piece of gum. Does that conversation ever take place? So I'm thinking Jerry probably, I don't know how much Jerry spent at the bathroom. But here's what I do know. No more bathroom attendants, please. As a matter of fact, I was so like, I'm not dealing with this. I just walked out the door. I didn't even want a towel. I'm out of here. Don't look at me when I'm going to the bathroom. Don't hand me anything. Leave me alone. I didn't go to the bathroom to be sitting there with a bathroom attendant. Hate it. Of course, I did get a kick out of Jerry running up down there every half hour and the quarter hour, but that's okay. Seriously, though, if you own a nice restaurant, enough with the bathroom attendants. We don't want them. Don't want it. And if you are a bathroom attendant and you're listening, my question is why? Who on earth would want that job? That's my rant for today.
There you have it.
That was next level.
Grant's rant.
That was awesome.
Now it's your turn to bring it.
Check it out.
Call the show now. 339-1140. 800-920-1140.
All right, let's get to Joey. Joey, you're on with Grant Napear. Go ahead.
Hey, Grant, I love your rant.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, I have one for you. I was in Palo Alto at this little sports bar.
Yep.
They have a bathroom attendant in there passing out gum and all this other stuff, right? I went up to the urinal, and I dropped my drawers like a little kid so he could see my ass the whole time. Oh, man. Everyone in there was just rolling laughing, man. I am that guy.
Oh, my gosh, that is hilarious, Joey. Oh, my gosh. Beautiful.
I thought you would like that one, man.
Thank you, buddy. Happy New Year. That's a classic. Rudy, you're on with Grant Napear. Hi, Rudy.
Rudy.
Hello, Rudy. Rudy, can you turn your volume on your radio down, please?
Hey.
Rudy, what's going on?
Well, 2015 is coming up, and with the Sacramento Kings, what have you not, with all this excuse me, excuse that, the GM was hired first, second, last, whatever. How about the owners and the GM just coming up with an apology, being the bigger person and just saying, hey, excuse us for making a mistake, and hire the coach back, and let's see where we go from there, huh?
Well, they're not going to do that. That's not going to happen, number one. Number two, it's not even about, because we don't know if it's going to be a mistake until we find out who the next real coach is going to be. But right now it looks bad. It is bad. The team can't play. They don't want to play. They don't look inspired. They're confused. They're bewildered. And thanks for the call. They're not going to go back and have Michael Malone coach the team. That's not happening. All right, Sonny, you're on with Grant Napear. Go ahead, Sonny.
Hey, Grant, great rant.
Thank you.
I want to take this to the aspect of the management use, the Jazz. I feel we've passed now the situation of free-flowing Jazz to experimental Jazz now to the blue period, because I am pissed off the way the Kings are playing and the way that the lack of timeouts yesterday during the game with the consistent turnovers. I can understand DeMarcus's frustration, and thank gosh he's been able to keep it in check, because, first of all, that man deserves a huge pat on the back. I think he's only had one technical compared to this time. I think he had 9 last year.
One technical. That's it, one technical.
He, with the stress and the situation he's been in, I'm amazed at his composure. And, yes, he lost it at Nick, but that's just a general trying to, hey, everyone, we need to come together and start playing. But, I hated the comparison. I'm a DJ by trade. I hate the comparison of the Jazz because, there's a lot of different style of jazzes, and until you define what jazz you want to play, your orchestra, this team cannot be in sync.
All right, thanks for the call. Let's get to Jim. Jim, you're on with Grant Napear. Go ahead. Or sorry, it's Rob. Rob, my bad. Rob, go ahead. It's your turn on KHDK. Go ahead, Rob. All right, Rob is gone. We'll get to JR. JR, welcome to the Grant Napear Show.
What's going on, Grant?
JR, what's happening?
Hey, man, I just want to throw this out, and you tell me if I'm way out in left field or not, but when DeMarcus was hurt, we got a guy on our team making $19 million a year, and I'm not going to put all this on Rudy Gay, but I thought when DeMarcus got hurt, or not hurt, I'm sorry, sick, I thought Rudy could have stepped up a little bit more. And again, I'm not putting this on Rudy, but I thought he played soft. I took my son to the Memphis game and the Phoenix game, and his defense is just atrocious, Grant. And it just seems like, as a second leader on this team, in my opinion, he just didn't show that leadership and will us to wins. I thought he just played soft at times.
Well, I think Rudy is most effective when he's with a dominant big man like he was in Memphis with Marc Gasol. He wasn't in Toronto because he had nobody in the middle. I think Rudy's the type of player where he really needs DeMarcus on the floor, and when DeMarcus is with Rudy Gay, he's just very, very difficult to bend, and I think he plays much better when DeMarcus is not on the floor. Now, with that said, if you go back and look at those games, and by the way, the Kings only won 2 of those games, Rudy led the team in assists. His passing was incredible. Maybe he could have done this, maybe he could have done that, but Rudy really is the type of player where he needs DeMarcus on the floor with him.
Hey, Grant, one more thing, too. I've always, I played basketball when I was a kid and a little bit in high school and some college, but I've always been taught never bring your defender to the ball. And the Kings often sometimes when they, this kind of handoff passing where they bring the defender, I don't understand that, man. And it seems like that's where we get a lot of our turnovers. What is that?
Yeah, there are times when they do bring your defender to the ball. We saw a case last night down low where Omri cut into the lane when the Kings had the ball down low. It does happen from time to time. Thanks for the call there, Rob. JR. Let's get to Abel. Abel, you're on with Grant Napear on KHTK.
Hi, how's it going, Grant?
Abel, what's up?
Hey, I was just curious. I was reading about some trade rumors that were possibly going down before the NBA deadline.
Yeah.
It's when things were going good, it didn't seem like the Kings were really interested in shopping around. But losing streak later, it sounds like they were connected to Darren Williams, which you said was on the back burner. So I'm glad to hear that. But I did hear a rumor about Michael Carter Williams over at Philly, the Rookie of the Year from last year. And I was just wondering, is there any possibility that could possibly happen?
I haven't heard a word about that, so I really can't comment on it. I haven't heard a word about that.
Okay, I was reading on this website, some blogger website, and they had a bunch of trades. They were saying possibly Al Horford just on the market, not necessarily the Kings, but do you see?
Why would Atlanta put Al Horford on the market? They've got the second best record in the East. They're playing great. Why would they put Al Horford on the market?
I don't know. I was just.
Come on, stop reading garbage. Stop reading garbage. Let's get.
How about
come on.
Green?
How about LeBron James coming to Sacramento? Let's get to Paul. Paul, you're on with Grant Napear. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Grant. Just wanted to figure out or get your thoughts on whether or not you thought Kings ownership was wanting to maybe possibly tank this season, and Mike Malone wasn't willing to take the shots.
No. Never once entered anyone's mind in the organization. Not once. Not by anyone.
Do you not think it would better the Kings organization if they had a higher draft pick?
Not if you draft Thomas Robinson or Jimmer Fredette or someone like that. No, I don't think it would benefit you.
Okay, thanks, Grant.
All right, thank you. Let's get to Mike. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Grant. How you doing?
Good, Mike.
Hey, I want to talk about the last 4 games that Coach Malone was coaching the team. On the post-game show, he just didn't seem very unhappy about them losing. And I think the owners and the GM saw that, and they were like, hey, we got to do better than that. They asked him a question of, are you mad right now? I remember the last one they talked about. They asked him if he was mad right now. I said, no, I'm not mad. Our offense actually done pretty well, but, that had to have struck him wrong, and that's probably what led to him getting fired.
Well, I did that had nothing to do with him getting fired, Mike. It may have seemed that had nothing to do with it. Trust me on that. George, you're on with Grant Napear on KHTK. Hi, George.
Hi, Grant. I got a quick comparison between the Oakland Raiders and the Sacramento Kings. Quite a few years ago, do you remember a coach named Tom Abel?
Yes.
He was the coach of the Raiders. I think he was the coach for like 2.5, 3 years.
Correct.
The Raiders finally got to 8-8, had a 500 season, and they fired the guy. And ever since then, the team has been on the downswing. And if you look at the Sacramento Kings with Mike Malone, I'm not saying Mike Malone was the coach, but just in general, he was starting to make good changes, and there was still obvious improvement. And right at that moment, they fired him because they don't want a certain style, which that's their prerogative. But the point is, they just keep going through coaches. And if you look at most of the losing organizations in all sports, one of the major common denominators is this constant change of coach. They never give the guy enough time to actually make a change and make it happen. So that's my point with the Kings. Thanks, Grant.
All right, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Have a good Happy New Year. Paul, you're on with Grant Napear on KHTK. Hi, Paul.
How you doing, Grant?
Paul, what's up?
Listen, man, I need to talk to you about Jed York, the Niners, and their quick trigger with Jim. I understand you want to go from GM to coach, and they did it backwards and whatnot. But what? I mean, what's the deal here? What's this?
They had a bad situation relationship-wise between the coach and the front office. There was discord there. There was lack of communication there. There were different philosophies in place, and the relationship between Jim Harbaugh and the management got to a situation where it could not be repaired, and therefore he's no longer there.
Well, what do you think about York's comments about the next coach coming in having such a small window to make it to the Super Bowl, and some of these statements that he's been making? He's kind of, making himself look bad.
Yeah, well, he's going to find out that he had really one of the best coaches in football, and the Niners are not going to be good for a while, and then he'll understand how good of a situation he had with his coach.
Well, thank you, Grant. Happy New Year,
thank
my friend. You have a good one.
Happy New Year to you as well. Appreciate it. Jason, you're on with Grant Napear. Hi, Jason.
Hi, yeah. I was calling because I think mainly the reason why they fired Harbaugh was because from the press conference, I'm not sure, but it sounded like they're trying to blame Harbaugh for the various, incidents that were occurring with the players. Like with Alden Smith and with some of these other players that was going on.
That nobody's blaming Jim Harbaugh for players driving drunk, hitting women. That's absurd. That's beyond ridiculous, especially from a.
How about with it sounds absurd to me, but it sounds, like what they're saying. Oh, we're looking more for a teacher. We're looking more for someone that's going to teach our players.
Let me explain something to you. When you get into the National Football League, okay, you're in a professional league. That is your job, all right? That's what you do. It's not the coach's job to babysit players when they're not with the team, okay? A coach does not babysit 53 players when they are not within the confines of the organization. They are professionals. They need to act accordingly. That is not on the coach in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it didn't sound. I can't find any other reason why they'd fire someone that goes to two Super.
Well, I just told you why. Thanks very much for the call. Appreciate it. I just put it out there. It was, a disconnect between him and the front office, different philosophy. They weren't talking. It was, call it egos, call it power. I'm not really sure. But that it had nothing to do with the fact that players were getting in trouble. You don't blame that on the coach. Jim Harbaugh, gosh, you look at his family values and how he's been extremely open about his stance on domestic violence before it even became the big issue that it was this year. Jim Harbaugh, say whatever you want about him. Don't question the guy's, ethics and morals as a person. That you can't blame that on the coach. That's for sure. All right, 339-1140 is the local number. 800-920-1140. Been quite a show today. And the one thing I always say, and I say this, I've been saying this since 1995 when I first started doing this show, and I'm going to continue to say. The great thing about where we live and the great thing about Kings fans is that when things are great, they're there. When things are rock bottom and bad, they're there. They care. They want to be heard. They don't just fold up their tent and go home. And we live in an unbelievably special community because it is just the Sacramento Kings, basically. And the fan base, the businesses, the partnerships, everything that's going on right now is so darn positive with the new entertainment and sports complex being built in downtown Sacramento, all the redevelopment, all of the great things going on. And unfortunately, we have to deal with what's going on the floor right now and some of the decisions that have been made that most people don't understand. And I hear your frustration. It's very obvious. You'd have to be living in a cave not to be totally aware of what's going on, not only in Sacramento, but around the country. All right? National beat writers, the Mark Steins of the world, the Adrian Wojnarowskis of the world, the Mark Spears, the Sam Amick's, the Scott Howard Coopers. I can go on and on. Howard Beck, okay? They're all asking the same thing. And you as fans are starting to get unbelievably, I shouldn't even say start. You're already unbelievably frustrated. And you are a lot like the players, is that you're confused. And you want to know where things are heading. So I get that. I get that. We've had, gosh, I can't even tell you how many calls we've taken so far, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of tweets coming in from concerned Kings fans. And you know what's going to be great? And I always look into the future. And I don't know if that future is going to be next month, or if it's going to be next November, or if it's going to be in 2016. But I always look at the big picture. And I know for a fact that we are at some point, and I really hope it's sooner than later, we are all going to be standing up watching the team in the playoffs in the new building. And it's going to happen. And we'll be taking calls. Gee, Grant, remember how bad things were at the end of 2014? Or you remember, gosh, we thought the team was going to move. We are going to get through this. And it will happen. I hope it happens much sooner than later. We'll come right back. This is the Grant Napear Show on KHTK Sports 1140.